Hi, checking in from rainy Arizona. How's the island?
An ASU professor accused of sexual misconduct is now on paid leave. Allegations against Lawrence Krauss first surfaced in a BuzzFeed news article last month. Krauss has denied the claims. ASU says they're investigating. Last month, a spokesperson said the school had not received any complaints about Krauss. Tonight, an ASU professor and physicist recently accused of sexual misconduct says he will retire from the university at the end of the academic year. Lawrence Krauss tweeting a statement this morning saying he never harassed or assaulted anyone. And after the university's investigation into allegations, he decided it was best to retire. Krauss was accused of sexual misconduct back in February. He was placed on administrative leave and eventually dismissed from some of his jobs there at the university. I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here at the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos. Very pleased to be joined by Lawrence Krauss, best-selling author, director of the Origins Project at ASU.
Nice to be here.
You've got space on your mind. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, space is pretty big, as you can see.
It is.
And most people feel kind of tragic that we're stuck here on Earth. You see all these science fiction movies about people going throughout the galaxy, and there's a lot of talk about traveling through space. But what we've learned is in the real world, the human exploration of space is both costly and extremely dangerous. As a physicist, we've explored the universe back to the earliest moments of the Big Bang. We have incredible satellites. We have rovers on Mars. As I often like to say, it costs as much to put a rover on Mars as it does to make a movie about sending Bruce Willis to Mars.
Right.
Humans are not the best way to explore space. We're kind of built to be here on Earth. We're bags of water. And if we look at the scientific benefits of space exploration, generally it's come from non-human based space exploration, because when we send humans into space, not only do they die a lot, which is of course a problem, and I think, frankly, I think it will be a problem for space tourism. It's going to there will be an accident, and when that happens, it's going to
We've already seen some accidents.
Exactly, right? But most of the money spent to send humans into space is spent on keeping them alive there and getting them back. So about 99% of the money spent on space exploration is to keep the humans alive. Whereas if you send out robots, which are much better designed to explore space, you can do a lot more for a lot less. So although it seems little less sexy to have a robot in space, on the other hand, when I watch the pictures coming from the rovers on Mars, I feel like I'm on Mars just as much as if some astronaut were taking
Absolutely.
pictures.
I love the NASA picture of the day. I look forward to it every day.
It's amazing, and we can send robots and satellites to places in our solar system where humans will never explore. Maybe one day we're talking about sending devices to probe the oceans of Europa looking for life. The places we can explore with machines are incredible, and with humans right now we have them boringly going around the Earth about the same distance between New York and Boston. I often say the best scientific experiment you could do with the International Space Station is to let it fall in the ocean and see how big a wave it would. Anyway.
So where do you expect we'll see robotic exploration of space?
Everywhere, I think. And the thing is, robots are improving by leaps and bounds. Right now, it's sure if we had a geologist on Mars, they could do a better job. But in 20 years, it's not clear. I think we'll see it in Mars. I think we'll see it in Europa. We'll see it, I think, earlier on the moon. And I think that we won't see humans. Although I have friends of mine who are trying to finance projects to send humans into space, humans to Mars. I don't think we're going to see it even in our lifetime. It's just incredibly expensive.
All right, I've got to ask you, what about mining asteroids for rare earth minerals?
Well, again, it sounds sexy, but there's a lot of Earth here, and it's a heck of a lot easier to mine here on Earth. Even remote places on Earth, I don't yet see a business model that makes it cost effective to find rare earths on distant satellites, unless we use them all up on here on Earth. And I think on the whole we're going to find it's a lot easier to explore here on Earth than out in space. Again, some people may be disappointed, but at least there's some.
You don't want to go to space?
Oh, I'd love to. When I was a kid, I watched the astronauts go to the moon. I'd love to go into space. It'd be a tremendous joyride. And that, by the way, is probably the chief benefit of sending humans into space, is that it excites young people. It excites people to. I've been with astronauts. Everyone wants to touch them, and I think the reason is, frankly, because they might die when they're there, and that's part of what creates the dramatic tension. As sad as that sounds, but it is part. I'm not against human space exploration, but just for adventure. Primarily, it's for adventure. The science is best done by other things.
Dr. Krauss, thank you so much for joining us here, the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos, and I'm Edie Lush.
Do you feel that an application from a woman scientist versus a man today would be given equal treatment now?
No. What we do is
I mean, in your own department
what
or
we
other
have,
physics
we have to
department?
say is if there are two people who have equal talents, we'll hire the woman. That's the rule. That's the rule. Okay?
Bro, dude, listen, guys, this is some crazy. We're only fucking 16 minutes in, and they
I
kept
don't
telling us,
know.
hey, dude, they kept telling us that Jeffrey Epstein literally was just peddling children to himself, and we have this connection with this random guy who seems
Very big connection.
this very big
Two
connection,
large holes in this connection.
crazy connection, where he is talking about 4 known pedophiles meeting in a group.
This
To
is,
Jeffrey
once
Epstein.
again, like, if you look at the fucking scroll bar on the right, Doug, I've gone through hundreds and hundreds, potentially 1,000 documents.
There does seem to be some weird inclination or some desire to expose secrets, to find secrets and to know them.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, but on the other hand, that's great. Let's exploit that.
Right.
So no. This professor gets busted for taking all this money from China. You know who else was giving him millions and millions of dollars?
Who?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Really?
Hell yeah.
He was giving who? The professor?
Dr. George Church.
How much was he giving him?
Tight millions. That guy was
giving,
bro.
Jeffrey Epstein was giving a lot of people money.
I know actually quite a lot of people that have met Epstein.
Do you really? Yeah, because you're in the scientific
Yeah,
community, right?
yeah, and especially at MIT.
He was a big donor. He tainted a lot of people's reputations by
Yeah.
knowing him in a weird way.
Basically, if you took a picture with him, your reputation is tainted.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, whether you knew him or not.
His job was to blackmail politicians, celebrities, and scientists.
How weird. There does seem to be some weird inclination or some desire to expose secrets, to find secrets and to know them.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, but on the other hand, that's great. Let's exploit that.
Right.
Arizona State University is mentioned nearly 3,500 times in the DOJ's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. That's all thanks to one disgraced former professor, former ASU physicist and cosmologist Professor Lawrence Krauss. The 71-year-old Krauss gained notoriety for his views on religion and his role as the chairman of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, known for its doomsday clock. Following his own sexual harassment scandal, Krauss departed from ASU in 2018, months before Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges. Krauss's name is mentioned more than 5,200 times in the Epstein files. The released documents, which do not represent the entirety of what the DOJ has, show thousands of communications between Krauss and Epstein dating back to 2006, when Krauss was a professor at Case Western Reserve University. In released emails, the two men discussed Krauss's ASU Origins project, which Epstein funded, as well as travel plans. Epstein also walked Krauss through attempted damage control after Krauss learned that BuzzFeed was investigating him over allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. Krauss has denied knowing about Epstein's crimes. Arizona State University is mentioned nearly
Because there are a lot of people in this country who do think that evolution directly confronts their belief in God, or the Big Bang directly confronts their belief in God, and therefore they don't want their children to learn about that. But what an awful thing to do to your children, to withhold evidence about how the world really works. Because, you don't have to believe in the Big Bang, but it really happened. You don't have to believe in evolution, but it happened. It's like Philip K. Dick said, the science fiction writer. Reality is that which continues to exist whether or not you believe in it.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you may not want to believe in it, but it happened. And for you to withhold that kind of knowledge from your kids because you're worried it's going to affect their faith is, in my opinion, child abuse. Because you're hindering their capabilities as an adult in a society which is highly technological to function effectively.
Modicum of fame who abuse and harass women for years, they know how to control the public discourse. And Krauss had allegedly already threatened to sue a blogger who posted about his sexual harassment allegations, so to the point where she removed the post, and so the general public and Krauss fans never really caught on to what was happening. So much of that harassment happens in private hotel rooms and under bar tables and in empty cruise ship corridors. So if a person is particularly litigious, they can shut down claims of abuse just by pointing out that the victims don't have hard evidence and that they probably don't want to deal with a defamation lawsuit, which can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars that they might not get back even if they win. And of course, once a victim goes public, there's the inevitable avalanche of male supremacists and others who come down on them with seemingly limitless threats and insults. For a lot of victims, it's just not worth it, particularly for any action less than, out and out rape. He groped me at a bar. It was disgusting. It made me feel violated, but no one's going to believe me, and I'm just going to get a lot of trouble for it, so why go public about it? I'll just warn all my girlfriends to stay away from him. And so that's what happened with Krauss. And publications know that they will also face the inevitable lawsuit claims, so if they can't verify every detail, and if they don't have the money to keep good lawyers on retainer, it's not worth it. So the story usually ends up getting killed. So that's what I assumed happened, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear from BuzzFeed again last week, in which they were just verifying a few things with me and telling me that the post would be up the next day. And I was doubly surprised when it actually was up on time, as promised. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you do. Links, as usual, below on my Patreon. It's painstakingly researched, and it includes the testimonies of many women, all independent of one another, reporting the same kind of sexual harassment from Lawrence Krauss over and over and over again all over the world. Despite how well researched it is, of course there are people falling over themselves to defend Lawrence Krauss. These people have taken Occam's razor and thrown it in the garbage because they think it's more likely that all of these separate independent women decided independently of one another to lie about Lawrence Krauss sexually harassing and assaulting them rather than just believing that Krauss did it. They even apparently dismissed the photographic evidence in which Krauss has his hand over a woman's breast. Krauss's amazing explanation for this is that he was actually putting his hand up to stop the photo from being taken with flash. Because that's what you do. When someone takes a photo of you, you assume that there's going to be a flash, and to combat that, you put your hand over the breast of the nearest woman. One of the people defending Krauss in the face of all logic and reason is his current wife, Nancy Dahl. And of course, if my husband were accused of sexual harassment, I too would want to defend him. But if my husband was accused of sexual harassment by dozens of people around the world, and if at least one of the instances happened right in front of me when he clumsily propositioned a fan on an expensive cruise to try to get her to do a threesome, I might not start tweeting my support, tweeting for the first time ever to support him. And if I did start tweeting my support despite all of that, I certainly wouldn't do it under my maiden name with absolutely no mention of my connection to my husband anywhere to seem like a disinterested third party. And if I did do that, I wouldn't start off by tweeting insults at the women who spoke up about my husband's abuse, like, I don't know, telling them they're too stupid to use birth control. And if I did do that, I wouldn't go on to threaten to tell other women's employers that they said something I didn't like on Twitter, which, to be specific, was that accusations of misconduct don't violate actual due process. And even if I did do all that, at the end of the day, I definitely wouldn't try to start a super cringy hashtag thanking my husband, which is only then used by me and 2 people from his fan club. It's all incredibly cringy. And to be perfectly real for a moment, no, you don't need to stick by someone whose abuses have been so clearly and carefully documented and reported. I know it sucks to realize that you're married to a monster, but that doesn't mean you have to stay. And it certainly doesn't mean that you have to join him in harassing women to shut them up. So all of that aside, I'm really happy that this article is out there. I've known about the cruise situation for a long time, in which Lawrence Krauss propositioned a woman for a threesome, made her feel extremely uncomfortable to the point that she said she would never attend another of his events. I'm glad that his behavior is out there, but even more importantly, I'm glad that the behavior of Ron Lindsay, who ran the Center for Inquiry at the time, is out there. Lindsay was told about the incident, he called the woman up, heard it directly from her, and then he decided to go ahead and book Krauss on another cruise. And on BuzzFeed, you can read the email in which an employee asked him, please don't book Krauss after he did this. And he says that he's going to go ahead and book him unless doing so would be a bad financial decision.